Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you a brand new series. What if Naruto received a new tail beast from the Shinigami? Part 1 guys. If you enjoy seeing one see part 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and tell me you want to see part 2 and I'll be posting it as soon as possible. And if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice, I have 3 channels. This is Anime King 2, I have Anime King and Anime King 3. Links will be down in the description for you guys to check it out and enjoy. And also guys, I post what if on them every single day. Yes, it might sound crazy, but it's not every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button so you can see which channel I post on and when I post guys. So right now just sit back, relax, and let's just jump right into this new episode. Start the intro. To start this story off with a small summary, the Kyuubi Chakra was split into 2 halves and sealed into Naruto's sisters, the Yang into Erza and the Yin into Mito. But there was another being there that night, and there was 3 possible hosts. At the last moment, Minato was able to survive by changing a seal at the last minute. He did not realize his mistake until years later, which he would soon come to find out. So yeah guys, so why do we jump into this? Sit back, place your feet up, and just enjoy guys. Naruto sat by his window as he glanced towards the training field. At the back of his yard, the curtains were mostly closed. The lights were off. The room itself was bare, almost clinically so. There was a bed, a dresser, and a small table. More so, everything inside the room was white, and it looked to have been cleaned so obsessively, like there wasn't even a speck of dirt. He looked around, he couldn't help but frown. He always hated the color white. It was too bright and clean, like everything in his life. He was one of 3 children, triplets in fact. He turned back towards the window and looked out as he watched again. As his sisters were training, he watched as Mito continuously kick the dummy, as his father watched from the sidelines, continuously cheering her on and giving her pointers, and bringing out words of encouragement. He could see the pattern of her movements. He could almost hear her feet as they hit the training dummy. On the other side, he could see his sister Erza. She, unlike Mito, was moving through a series of swordsmanship as she was wielding a wooden sword in her right hand. Kushina, like Minato, stood on the sideline. She smiled as she directed her daughter training. Both of his sisters looked like mini versions of their mother, with long red hair and purple eyes, but they had whisker marks on their cheek, 3 on each. Mito was dressed in a baggy white shirt with red shinobi trousers, with a white bandage wrapped around her hands and wrists. Erza, on the other hand, had taken a liking to wearing armor, with a blue shirt underneath, and the heavy metal boots. As she was against the traditional shinobi sandals, she preferred these. But while they both looked like mini versions of Kushina, the resemblance that they had between each other was remarkable. The only way to tell them apart was their clothes, and sometimes their hairstyle. There was a reason why Naruto was in his room, while his sisters were being trained by Minato and Kushina. The reason for this separation began almost 9 years ago, on the night when they were born, and the Kyuubi, the fox demon, was forcibly extracted from his mother, who had been left weak from giving birth to the 3 of them. Luckily, Minato had been prepared and ready. Despite having the Kyuubi removed from her, he was able to seal it in his 2 daughters, and he also used the remaining chakra that was left behind in the ear and seal it inside of Kushina to keep her alive. He split the fox in half, Yin and Yang chakra, Yin being sealed to Mito and the Yang being sealed into Erza. His sisters were chosen because they were born healthier and stronger than Naruto, as he was like the runt of the litter. Because of this, both of his sisters need training at a young age to control the chakra that was inside their body, and the violent output upon releasing it. Naruto had seen them lose control once from his window, and they had been like wild animals until his parents slapped seals on them to calm them down. Unfortunately though, despite getting affected by that night, unlike his sisters, Naruto did not get a power boost like what they got. According to the doctors, the Kyuubi Chakra had affected both him and his sisters while they were in their mother womb. Mito and Erza was not affected by it because they had the Kyuubi seal inside of them. It counteracted the effects of what happened when they were inside. But Naruto did not have the Kyuubi seal inside of him. They didn't even have a name for what he had, and he really hoped they never name it after him. At such a young age, his body had been exposed to the Kyuubi's chakra, and there was some side effects. Whenever he eat, his body could only break down 20% of the food into nutrients. So no matter how much he ate, he was always starving. His body was very thin and weak, and because of that he was always fatigued and tired quickly. The doctors actually expect him to die before he reached the age of 2, and they were rather shocked when he passed what they call the danger age. While they claim that he will never be completely healthy, they also say that he would not just keel over and die without warning. However, despite getting past danger age, his family still treat him like glass, like a strong wind would just break him. This had led to his parents developing an overprotectiveness when dealing with Naruto, something his sisters also picked up. Therefore, as they were being trained by his parents, he was forced to watch, and if he ever even asked to be trained as well, they would give him this look, like the mere thought of him training terrified them to their very souls. They always said they would train him when he was older and healthier, that they need to focus on his sisters because of the fox, but he knew that they were just placating him. They never intend to train him, they just want him to remain a civilian and stay behind the walls of Konoha for the rest of his life. Unlike Mito and Erza, who took after their mother, Naruto took more after his father, Minato. In fact, in the same way his sisters looked like their mother, Naruto looked exactly like his father. Same golden blonde hair with random spikes sticking out in all directions, and the same blue eyes. He would have had the same complexion, but he was too thin and pale as well. His skin was so pale it looked almost silver, and his flesh was wrapped so tightly around his bones. Sometimes you could see them when he moved, or whenever he inhaled or exhaled, you could see them quite well. His eyes also had a dimmer look to it, almost seeming lifeless. Like his sisters, he has 3 whisker marks, but his cheeks were sunken in. There were dark rings around his eyes as well, making it always look like he had black eyes. Despite his room being white, his clothing was dark, making his skinny, unhealthy figure stand out even more. He was wearing a grey shirt that, despite being so small, it was still baggy on his body, and he was wearing black trousers. And he was wearing a hoodie over that pulled up to cover his hair. This was so that most of his skin was covered because whenever he went anywhere, he was always so cold. With a small grunt, he turned away from the window and closed it, plunging the room into darkness. Despite that, he could see rather precisely. He could see in the dark, better than most people, far better than most people. He didn't really like the bright light, he preferred the darkness. He moved towards his bed and got to his knees, as he reached and pulled out a scroll. It was a scroll that he had taken from his father's library. The information inside was not that hard to find. The scroll contained the method how to unlock a person's chakra system, how to control the energy flowing through their body. If his family knew that he had this, they would try to take it from him. His father thought that he was too weak to unlock his chakra. He didn't even want him to try for fear of him getting hurt. His mother would be more than happy to make him never leave the house again, and if she had her way, she would place him in a protective bubble. Mito and Erza were no better. Despite them being the same age, they always treat him like he was the younger one. Naruto has been studying the scroll for the last week, making sure that he understood everything. His mother was a sensor type ninja. She would know if he unlocked it in the house, so he would not. That was why he was waiting for today, or more specifically tonight, so that he could go through with it. Tonight his parents would be out, leaving only his sisters for him to get past. While Mito was showing signs of being a sensor like his mother, she was inexperienced and she wouldn't be able to tell if he was inside or not. However, she would feel if he unlocked his chakra, so he needed to get a distance away from the house, without them knowing. He reached into his pocket as he pulled out a kunai that he had stolen from his sister's room. He would unlock his chakra and prove to his family that he wasn't as weak, just as they all thought. Time skip. Later that night, it had been easier than usual to sneak out of the house. Not that Naruto was complaining. Both Mito and Erza were reading some scrolls that their mother had given to them. They were so invested they did not even notice him walking past. It was rather ironic, the son that they thought was incapable of becoming a shinobi was able to sneak past his trained sisters. As soon as he was outside, he sprinted towards the fence, aiming for one specific part behind the bushes. By the time he reached, he had to stop. He had to lean on his knees as he took deep breaths in and out. It was times like these that he really hated his body. Moving behind the bush, he glanced behind to see if no one was out, but there was no one. He smirked as he walked towards the fence and pushed. He pushed until a particular plant moved out of the way. He then crawled through and placed it back before he ran into the space behind his family's home. The tree shades covering him as he disappeared in the darkness. For the next half hour, he made his way until he was deep within the forest. As he stopped in a small clearing, he sat down on a rock, taking some breaths as he unrolled the scroll that he had. He was about to start reading until he heard a noise. He pulled the kunai so quickly as he launched it. He had spent hours training on how to use a kunai while his parents trained his sisters. His aim was precise and deadly as he threw it with such unusual force. Something fell from a tree. It was a hawk, as Naruto had hit it right in the chest. As Naruto walked over and paused, having lived such a sheltered life he had never really seen a dead animal before. It took him a while to tear his eyes away from the sight as he removed the kunai, as he noticed upon impact the wing was also broken. But he returned back towards the rock and sat down. He then started to form the hand sign as he closed his eyes, as he searched for that feeling that the scroll described. Looking for that stream that ran through his body like water, he searched. He started by going down towards his stomach, feeling for that swirl of chakra. It was supposed to be the easiest part to find the chakra because it was the biggest, then the heart, then the head. As he took deep breaths, the world around him started to fade away as he started to fall into a world of pure darkness. It was cold, it was dark, there was absolutely nothing around. He started to worry as he blinked, and it would not change. This is where his chakra was. The scroll said that it was supposed to be a blue light flowing, like water. But this was just pure darkness as he glanced around, unable to see one thing. Considering that his eyes usually focus on darkness, he was able to see a lot in the darkness. This pitch black darkness was different from all the other darkness that he's been in so far. Panic started to set in as he threw his head from left to right, until he curled up on himself. His family was right, he was too weak to be a ninja. He couldn't even find his chakra. Worse yet, it was so small it was probably invisible to him, because it was not enough. He was about to give up at that moment until something reached out and grabbed his wrist. It felt like a hand, but it was hard as stone and cold as ice. He could almost feel a bruise forming in his hand as it tried to pull him deeper into the darkness. His eyes widened in fear. He tried to pull away. He could not see what was holding him. The darkness was just too pitch black. The thing was stronger than him though as it yanked him down. This was impossible. He was in his mind. Nothing else should be in his mind. Why couldn't he leave? He wanted to scream, but the thing reached up and covered his mouth as he wailed and whipped around, but nothing came out. The thing then finally released his wrist as Naruto grabbed his hand, his mouth freed as well, as he held his hand with his other one. He tried to see what it was that just held on to him, but he could not. It was then that he saw something in the far corner. His eyes widened. Light. It's not blue, like the scroll said. Instead, it was a dark purple ball, with the red lightning cackling around it. It almost reminded him of an egg, but he was wrong as he got closer. It became larger, and larger, and larger. By the time he stood a few feet away from it, it was large as the Hokage's tower. As he slowly reached out, he noticed his arm was bleached of all color. It wasn't even pale, it was just dull. But he reached his hand out. His palm hit it. It was completely solid. The texture felt like glass, cold and solid. As Naruto pushed, to his surprise it was caving under his push. It felt like rubber when he pushed it hard. He pushed, but he was not going past anymore. So he used both hands and started to push even harder. It started to indent and indent even more. He thought he was about to break through until it bounced him back as he collapsed on the ground. He frowned as he got back to his feet. It was then that a voice spoke. Your kunai. Use your kunai. Naruto whipped his head around so fast he almost got whiplash as he tried to find out why the hell just said that. The voice had sounded like dry leaves, rustling. It had sent a shiver down his spine. But no matter how hard he looked, there was nothing, no movement. Just pure, unending darkness, stretching out as far as his eyes could see. As Naruto reached in his pocket and pulled out the kunai, How he still had it when he was in his mind, he really did not know. But at this point he did not care, as he gripped the handle carefully and tightly. As he pushed it into the egg, it resisted, but then it cut. He smiled as he brought the kunai down, cutting a path that was big enough for him to fit through. He then pocketed the kunai and plunged head first into the light. For a moment, he was overflow with a feeling of absolute peace. A warm sensation covered his body. The light was bright, but yet it did not feel uncomfortable. It felt warm, sweet. All the aches in his body since he was born was being soothed away. All the pain and sadness was going away. It was replaced by a new pain. Naruto cried out. It was just so good, and then it felt like a literal giant mallet had slammed into him. As he then felt pain from the inside, he felt like his body was on fire. He felt like the veins inside his body was being burned through. He dug his finger into his flesh, trying to get the fire out. His mind was unable to take the pain. It was too much, too overwhelming, as he fell face first. Time skip. When Naruto woke up, he was back in the real world, as he was lying on top of the cold stone. He took breaths as he pulled himself up. His body ached more than he ever remembered before, and although he couldn't feel the fire anymore, he felt something moving around inside of him. He opened his eyes, but it was dizzy. The world itself was just spinning around him, or maybe it was his head that was spinning. He couldn't think clearly. The memory of his pain running through his body was just too much, messing with his thoughts. Yet at the same time he could hear, and he was aware of everything around him. The sweat that dripped off his head and hit the rock. The wind pushed his way through the trees, whistling as it passed his ears. He could feel every living thing around him. Every living thing. He could feel the deers 100 meters away from where he was. The birds flowing in the air above him. He could feel every insect in the ground. He could feel every single ant. He knew the exact amount. As he could feel as they work and build their colonies, as they listened to their queen. He heard the beehive to his right. Thousands of bees moving around. It was all so much for him, as he had to take deep breaths to calm himself. The information overload was just too much. He needed to get back home. If his sisters found out that he wasn't there, they would find his parents, and they would probably find a whole search party to come and search for him. That was the last thing he needed. So he slowly got back up to his feet. His legs felt like jelly. He was about to make his way home when he noticed something odd. There was a delicious smell in the air. It smelled so wonderful. As he sniffed and made his way, he found the source. It was the dead body of the hawk that died earlier. His eyes blurred as he stepped towards the bird. The more he tried to focus, the clearer the bird became. He could see a faint outline around the bird. The outline was blue, and somehow that told him that it was dead. He watched as an orb of light started to force itself out of the body of the hawk. The light started to hover above the corpse. Unknown to him, he was seeing the life force within things. His eyes had changed. The iris had turned crimson red, and the whites had turned black. Added to his pale skin, he had a rather unnerving look, as Naruto was unaware of the changes that was happening, or that he was walking towards the orb of light. As he got closer, his mouth started to drip. He licked his lips. He didn't know what this thing was, if it was dangerous or if it was some jutsu that he never heard of before. But there was one thing that he knew. The pale blue light was the most delicious thing he ever seen, and he wanted to eat it whole. He reached out as his hand grabs the orb. As he brought it closer, he started to giggle in delirious happiness. He opened his mouth, unaware that his mouth opened twice as it should possibly be able to open to. As his mouth was ridiculously wide. This shouldn't have been possible. As he reached and swallowed the orb, he thought he was gonna choke, but then it slid down his throat. It was then that he felt it, the orb, hitting his stomach. He felt his chakra increase ever slightly, a cold sensation running through him, adding to his reserves. He felt as the pathways that he just opened pulsed with energy. This was the first time in his life his body hadn't hurt. He had done it, he had unlocked his chakra. His family would see that he was not weak, and they would train him like his sister. He could be a ninja just like his father, and he could protect the village. His eyes returned back normal as he skipped home happily. By the time he got home, the adrenaline wore off. And the moment he lay down, he fell asleep. The next day, He was woken by someone banging on his door. The voice was Erza's. He didn't hate them or anything. They just weren't as close as they once were. When they were young, he did everything with them. Hell, he went to them if he had a nightmare in the night. He didn't go to his parents, he went to them. But then they started training and he felt so left out. Their parents refusing to let him start training as well. That had been a year ago, and since then he became distant away from them. They did not even notice though. They were too busy focusing on the training to realize that he was being left out of many things. It wasn't fair that they were being trained while he was being treated like glass. And while they usually tried to spend time with him, something always came up regarding their training, as that always made him feel a lot worse. But that was going to change now that he unlocked his chakra. It meant that he could train with them because he had access to his chakra. And also he wanted to ask his parents, what was that orb that he swallowed last night? He got out of bed dressed in the clothes he wore last night, as he made his way towards the door. Mito was also there. They were both smiling at him. Mito was the first step forward and pulled him into a hug, but she was being rather gentle with him, still treating him like he was glass. Happy birthday, Naruto, both of them said. It took a moment for the words sink in his head, as Erza took Mito place and hugged him. Birthday? Said Naruto in confusion, as both girls frowned as Erza placed hand on her hip, just like his mother. Really, Naruto? You should get out of your room more often if you don't know. That is our birthday. Erza said with a disapproving look. If I had a reason to leave my room more often, maybe I would, he said. His comment was met with uncomfortable silence, both girls looking rather guilty. Maybe they weren't as clueless as he thought. They at least knew what he was talking about. But as quick as it came, it went away. As Mito was bouncing the ball of her heel, she took his arm and started to drag him downstairs. Come on, get into gear. Mom and Dad are waiting for us downstairs. Don't forget, we still have to get ready for our party. Everyone is coming. Erza shook her head as she saw how giddily Mito was acting. Naruto's face darkened when he heard party, as he whispered under his breath. You mean your party, he said. Time skip throughout the day. He had tried to talk to his parents with little success. At least them saying happy birthday was something. When they weren't telling him to eat so that he could keep up his strength, they were moving around the house setting up the party. There was a lot of clan children coming by. Since they were younger, their parents tried to make them get along quite well with each other. After all, when they got older, they will be the ones running the village. Naruto was sure that all the main clans had children at the same time was not a coincidence. However, the only one that Naruto really got along with was Shikamaru. And even then, they only ever really played shogi together. And even then, they didn't really play it that much. Shikamaru was currently winning, as he was at 24 to Naruto 17. But, to what Shikamaru said that Naruto was the only person out of his clan that actually ever beat him, well, he took that as a compliment. He did get along well with Itachi though, the oldest of the Uchiha children. While they didn't speak that much when they did, Itachi never treated him like glass. His brother, on the other hand, Sasuke, was a whippy little mama's boy who followed his brother around like a shadow. Unfortunately, he was one of Erza and Mito's friends, so he was around a lot. When the adults came, things became worse. As Naruto could not talk to his parents, they were always moving around talking. He went over to the side and sat down in the corner. No one seemed to notice him other than Shikamaru, who gave him a nod, as he looked bored as usual. But he could swear that his sisters noticed him, sending him odd looks at the corner of their eyes. Happy birthday, Naruto. Naruto turned his head to see Itachi standing there. A smile came on his face as Itachi sat down. Hey Itachi, thanks, I guess, said Naruto. As he looked over the party, it was rather strange. Here he was at a party that was being thrown for him, and he felt like a stranger here. As the both of them watched the people in the room, until Itachi spoke once again. I see you found that scroll I recommended. I can sense your chakra flowing through you now. It's odd though. Something about your chakra feels and looks odd. It is rather unnatural. Naruto glanced towards Itachi at the corner of his eyes, as he saw his Sharingan was activated. Itachi was the one that told him what scroll he should use to unlock his chakra. While everyone saw him as a weak, sick boy, Itachi saw Naruto potential, and that he wanted to help him reach said potential. He told him what scroll to read, recommended different training methods to do until his body was stronger, and even showed him the proper way to throw a kunai and hold it. As Naruto saw his mother glance over towards him, he didn't want to make it look too obvious, especially regarding his training. His mother was a smart woman, so he waited and simply nodded his head. I was able to sneak out last night and unlock it, but it wasn't exactly what the scroll said. But it did push me in the right direction though. Good. Itachi said simply. It was then that Itachi reached in his pocket and pulled that scroll. or on the sides of his fists, as he rested on Naruto's lap. Your birthday present. Your room looked a bit weird the last time I saw it. I thought you'd want something to place on your wall. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he unrolled the scroll, as he saw the kanji for the words underneath the underneath. It was a popular saying in Konoha, and actually one of his favorite sayings, to look underneath the underneath to find the truth. There was a little string on the top so it can be hung up, and Naruto was sure Itachi had written it himself. But what was on the back really caught his attention. A small smirk came up on his lips as he pushed it back down. On the back of the scroll there was a storage seal that wouldn't be seen, especially when he placed it up, as he knew that his real present was inside. Most likely so his parents or his sister wouldn't find it, and try to take it off him. That was probably why Itachi asked about unlocking his chakra. He wanted to make sure that Naruto could open it. When he gave him this, "Thank you, and I think you might be right, my room could do with a bit of personality." Naruto said, the smile once again coming to his face as he did so. Itachi nodded as he got to his feet and walked off. An hour later, much hadn't changed, but his sisters and a few of the clan ears came over and tried to rope him in their conversation. But they did not stick around for too long though. He was not that surprised. They were rather uncomfortable around him. They didn't know how to treat him, as they were afraid that he might say the wrong thing and offend his sisters or his parents. His usually sickly looks had that effect on people his own age, and the adults as well. He was the son of two powerful people. With him looking so frail and weakly, it did not exactly fit in of what the son of Minato and Kushina should look like. Even his godfather Jiraiya acted weird around him, if he did not try to just ignore him most times. The pervert spent most times during his visits speaking with his father or his sisters, or trying to perv on his mother, and then she would kick his ass. Even now Naruto saw his face swollen. He always made comments on the females' bodies, and they always punch or hit him. It did not seem to affect him one bit though, as he was still smiling and talking. Naruto was about to head upstairs until he heard the clang of a glass, as his mother was in the center of the room. Along with his father was the one cleaning the glass. "Attention everyone, I have an announcement," he said. "Erza and Mito, would you come over here for a moment?" said Minato, with a large smile. Naruto got up as he moved closer so he could see. The crowd was starting to block his view. His eyes narrowed as he stood there. He watched as his dad kneeled down in front of his sisters. His mother had a proud look on her face. A hollow feeling started to form in his stomach. Now, after talking it over with their mom and see how much the both of you have put in your training, we think that you're ready. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to start teaching you the Rasengan. Happy birthday, girls!" Minato said, the happy expression on his face, as he enjoyed the joy on his daughter's faces. As the two of them hugged their father as Kushina came in and turned it into a group hug, the hollow feeling inside his stomach just got so much worse. His heart started to beat faster and faster. The room started to spin around him. He saw Itachi watching him as he leaned on the wall to see what he would do. As the room stopped spinning, and what he felt was pure, unending rage. As Naruto moved forward, but Shikamaru grabbed his hand. Naruto glanced towards him as Shikamaru shook his head no. As the family broke the hug. "It's not going to change anything, Naruto. Just let it go," said Shikamaru, as he held Naruto back. The rational part told him to listen to his friend, but the one that was consumed by anger, it was far louder. He jerked his arm away from him and gave him a glare. As what Naruto did not know that his eyes changed. Shikamaru backed away in fear. When he blinked, Naruto's eyes returned back to normal. As Naruto walked away, it wasn't until he stood directly in front of Kushina when she noticed him. Her eyes widened as she realized. As she looked towards the others before she looked back towards him, he saw the guilt in her eyes, but her eyes didn't harden with resolve. "Naruto dear," she said, her voice coming out quietly as she reached out her hand towards him. But Naruto did not allow her to lie to him again. "Are you going to lie to me again and claim that the Rasengan is a part of their training to control the Fox Chakra?" His voice was not too loud, as he didn't want to draw too much attention to what was happening, but it was harsh. But the ones that stood close, they heard. As they turned their gaze to what was going on, "Naruto, please," said Kushina. "We can talk about this later." As she looked around nervously. "No," he said, raising his voice. Now everyone turned towards him, including his wide-eyed sisters. "You always say that we will talk later, or that you need to focus on Erza and Mito training because of that bloody fox. I've had enough of your lies. Just tell me the truth. You were never going to train me, were you?" he asked. All the anger that he was building up all these years, he started to vent it out. Silence. Heavy and thick silence fell around the room. The adults were sending each other looks. but they did not seem surprised. Finally, after what seemed like forever, Minato stepped forward, as Jiraiya also stood there as well. "You're right, Naruto. We never intend to train you. But you have to understand why. Understand that your condition, it is too dangerous. Your body is too..." Minato crouched down so he could talk to his son on his level. "Weak?" said Naruto. "That's what you were thinking, right? That I'm weak," said Naruto, as he gave into his childish fit of anger. It was not that surprising, he was a child after all. The ward seemed to hit his family like a blow. As they looked down at him sadly, Jiraiya was the one that stepped in. "That's exactly why, kid. You're weak. Your body is not strong enough to go through the shinobi training. You can barely carry yourself from day to day. I'm sorry, but it's time you see the truth. You will never, ever be a ninja." It was finally time that someone told him the truth, Jiraiya thought. It was the best thing for everyone involved. As Naruto started to cry, he couldn't hold back the tears. As he ran away from the room, people unwilling to look him in the eyes as he ran away. With Kushina, for a moment she couldn't do anything as she stood there, as her precious boy ran out of the room. As she watched him leave, tears running down his face, she wasn't sure what she was supposed to do. For the last few years, Jiraiya had told him that giving him false belief was a lot crueler than not telling the truth. But how were you supposed to tell your child that he could not do what the rest of his family do? His dream, to fulfill his dream to live as a ninja. Because of no fault of his own, his body was just too weak. Despite everything that happened with the Kyuubi, the day the triplets were born was the best day of her life. She had become a mother. Not even the damn fox getting loose could ruin that. No matter what other people might think. Unfortunately though, her happiness could not really last long. It had taken them about a week to notice that something was wrong. Wrong with Naruto. He was fed the same as his sisters, but yet, despite his healthy attitude, well, he did not gain any weight at all. Each day, his baby fat was melting away, and his cries of discomfort never stopped. It got so bad they had to call in the doctors. And what the medical professions found? Well, it was so bad, it broke their hearts. 2 years. 3 if they were lucky. That was how long the doctors gave him to live. In the hospital with the IV hooked up in his arm. The IV giving him the nutrients that his body was not able to process. It had brought the both of them here and that. They had visited him every day, Kushina practically moving in with the girls for the past 3 years. If not for his duty, Minato would have been there as well. But they had made do with him coming by every day. He was so small lying there, fragile, like he was glass. The first few years were so hard. But then the day came the doctors told him, despite the odds, he had lived past the danger years. The worst was behind him, and even though he would never truly be fully healthy, she could take him home. She had cried that day. They were finally a real family again. But Erza and Mito needed training to prepare themselves to control the fox. And Erza had shown that she had the Uzumaki bloodline, one that Kushina possessed. Solid chakra over the years, Erza had demonstrated understanding that not even Kushina had. Kushina could use it to make a chain with blades on the end, and she could use it to suppress anyone's chakra that she caught in them. But Erza take it one step further, and she was able to make almost anything with them. An actual armor of all things. And Mito, even without the bloodline, she was slowly turning into a very adept sensor, a rather powerful one that is. Erza's passion was Kinjutsu, Mito was Fuinjutsu. Like her father, she was fascinated in seals, studying them, breaking them apart, and seeing how they work. And her skills in Taijutsu show that she would be a very powerful kunoichi one day. Both of them would. Naruto though, sometimes there was days that he couldn't even walk down the stairs without getting winded. The thought of him holding a kunai, the thought of him training with one, it terrified her. But when he had seen his sister training, he wanted to become a ninja like them. Kushina had saw it, and it terrified her when she saw her sick boy trying to become a ninja. Both Minato and Kushina knew if he ever unlocked his chakra, his body might break from the strain, more or less use it. So they tried to buy time, saying that they need to focus on his sisters because of the fox. They just want to wait until he was older and mature. Maybe then he would understand that he couldn't be a shinobi. But Jiraiya was right. Even though she was angry enough to turn her wrath on Jiraiya, he was right. Keep on lying to him was wrong. Maybe telling the truth might be better in the long run. He had warned them from day one that he did not agree with them. Giving Naruto false hope was not a kindness. It was the harshest way. Because when he truly realized that he could not do it, he would be sad, incredibly so. So Jiraiya decided to rip off the band-aid. and tell him right there and then. That is why he always kept his distance away. He didn't want to lie to Naruto. He didn't want to look in his face and lie to him, so he had kept his distance away from Naruto. And he didn't want to go against the kid's parents. And Kushina knew if Naruto had asked Jiraiya would have been more than happy to train him, so the best thing for him to do was to stay away from Naruto. However, after seeing her son run away, with that heartbroken expression on his face, she glared at Jiraiya. She didn't care, she glared at him, as she went after her son. Minato apologized and telling the guests that the party was over. Meanwhile, with Naruto, by the time he reached his room, his tears had stopped falling. His face had given way to numbness. As he just sat on his bed, his head was still ringing with Jiraiya words over and over again. You will never be a ninja. You will never be a ninja. You will never be a ninja. It just told him that everything that he thought was correct. His parents and his family always thought he was weak, that they had been lying to him for the entire years. They never planned on training him, like Mito and Erza. As Naruto squinted, he thought he was going to cry again, unknowing that the pupil in his eyes started to switch and change back. As he was holding onto the kunai in his pocket, he ran his finger against it. It needed to be sharpened. He was actually about to take it out until he felt someone chakra from downstairs break off from the others and start to come up the stairs. If he had more experience, he could have told who it was, but from now, he could only tell that they had a lot of chakra. A moment later, there was a soft knock before the door opened slightly, as his mother's face was there. He hadn't turned the light on when he entered, so the light from outside came in. As he stopped at his feet, the rest of his body cloaked in darkness. But he saw the concerned face of his mother as she looked towards his form. As she reached for the light switch, she flipped it up but nothing happened, as Naruto had removed the bulb some days ago. Naruto dear, we need to talk about this, she said, as she saw his figure on the bed. He didn't answer straight away, as he tried to get his voice under control, so it would not break and show more weakness that she expected from him. What exactly is there to talk about? You both have been lying to me for years now, constantly making promises that you never intend to keep, giving me false hope. You think I'm too weak to even unlock my chakra, don't you? He said. As he looked his mother right in the eyes, he watched as she flinched at each accusations, like they were physical blows. Tears started to gather in her eyes, but at this moment in time he just couldn't bring himself to care. They had lied to him. They had hurt him. It was painful to know. Kushina walked over and she sat on the bed. Despite the room being dark, Naruto could see her perfectly, like it was midday. Naruto, we should have been straight with you when you first asked us for training. Both your father and I knew that we shouldn't have promised to train you. I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have lied to you. But we just thought that if we waited until you were older, it would be easier to explain things then. You have to understand with your condition, it is too dangerous for you to train. I spent hours with your father talking about this. We even talked to a few medical ninjas. We thought that it would be best to train you in genjutsu, but simply unlocking your chakra could kill you. Your body is just not ready for the added strain. Naruto did understand. Hearing that unlocking his chakra could kill him, that just made him more angrier. After all, he did unlock his chakra the day before, and he was not dead. His eyes started to burn once again as he clenched his fists. He spoke calmly, as he tried not to shout. But you never tried. You never tried. How did you know it would kill me? How do you know that it wouldn't help with my condition? Did you ever even consider that, he asked, as he sent her a glare. We did, and everyone we talked to told us. If it did not kill you, it might help your condition. But we weren't about to risk that. We weren't about to risk it at the cost of your life, she said. Why was it your decision to make, said Naruto? If it's my life, I should be the one to pick. It wasn't your no. As Kushina shouted a bit, a hard expression on his mother's face. No matter what you think of us at the moment, your father and I have every right to make that decision. If it's a choice between your life or the ability to use chakra, there wasn't even a question about what we would pick. You might not understand it right now, but we could never risk losing you. Not again, she said. She reached out as she held him. She pulled him into a hug as she stroked the back of his head. They stayed like that for several minutes, as he allowed himself to take comfort in the embrace. When they finally separated, she had tears in her eyes, and a small smile on her lips. It's getting late, and a lot happened today. I'll let you get some rest. Your birthday presents will still be downstairs. You can come get them tomorrow. If we need to, we can talk more about this in the morning, but we will not change our mind. Unlocking your chakra is not worth risking your life over. She gave him a kiss on the forehead before she left the room, as Naruto lay down rather quietly, as he just closed his eyes. Sleep just overtook him right there and then. The next morning, Naruto was set to tell his family that he unlocked his chakra. He knew they would be angry, but it would be okay in the end. He had proven that he wasn't as weak as they thought he was, and now they will have no choice but to train him along with Mito and Erza. Unfortunately, as they sat down to eat dinner, both his mother and father were called for emergency council meeting, so they had to leave. As Kushina had promised that they would talk when the meeting was over, but Naruto knew from experience these meetings could take hours to finish. Mito had quickly taken over the table after breakfast, as she started to work on her seals, writing the same ones over and over until she was able to do it a lot faster. Erza made her way toward the training room so that she could practice her Kinjutsu. With nothing else to do, Naruto decided to go through the presents that he got last night. Shikamaru gave him several new chess sets. Each of them were styled to look like ninjas from the 5 great nations. Choji and his family gave him a cookbook with hundreds of different recipes. He got a bonsai tree from Ino and her father, along with the equipment that he needed to take care of it. There were several other presents, none of them having to do with anything ninja related. Unlike his sister presents, he did end up with a decent amount of money though. It wasn't surprising because most people didn't know what to buy for him, so they just gave him the money. As he arrived towards one of the presents, toads. The wrapping paper was toads. He thought about just throwing it away. As he placed it aside, he then came to the presents from his family. Mito gave him a notebook filled with blank paper of high grade material, and Erza had gave him a charcoal pencil set. It was a cooperative gift between two of them, it seems. His parents had gave him a framed photograph of all of them, smiling together. He was in the middle, both of his sisters hugging his arms, and his mother and father behind them smiling happily. It was taking a week before they had started training sisters, when they were one big happy family. He sighed as he decided to go for a walk to clear his head, knowing that his parents would not be home for at least a few hours. He didn't tell any of his sisters that he was going out, as he would be back before they even noticed. He also didn't want to risk one of them coming with him, especially after his outburst last night. They would try to do that. To follow him, he made his way towards the fence as he was able to crawl through. He didn't really have any particular location in mind. He just wandered, letting his feet take him where they may. After about half an hour of walking, using his new sensory ability to look around him and feel everything, he found himself back in the same clearing that he used to unlock his chakra before. The body of the hawk was gone, judging by the feathers and the blood. A fox must have got it and took it back to its den. He made his way towards a rock that was stuck in him from the ground as he sat down on it. He didn't know how long he was there for. As he listened to the insects, he listened to the breeze, as he didn't realize that he was slowly slipping away. Well, I must say this is a surprise. I was not expecting to see you for another few years. Naruto's eyes snapped open instantly. He was standing on a tall stone wall that was acting as a border. On one side there was light, on the other side there was darkness. It was not even darkness per se, it seems like it was just bleach, a fall color. There was no sun. On the other side though, there was a bright sun, a lake, a luscious forest, even though he couldn't see any animals. It was just so peaceful. On the other side, the ground seemed like sand, like it had decayed and rotten away. They were white, dead trees. Their branches had no leaf on them. They just spiked all over the place. The stones themselves were black as night, and it gave off a chilly feeling. The wall that he stood on was as tall as a Hokage's monument, around 300 foot wide, and made from grey stone. He even felt something as he glanced up, as he saw the orb. It was similar to the one that he took from the bird, but this one had a purple center. It seemed to be acting as some sort of sun in the sky, yet it was not cascading that much over the dull side. Not what you were expecting, I imagine. Just take some time to absorb it all, after all. I know it's not easy to see your own soul in physical form. Naruto turned as he looked around. He didn't know who was saying that, as he tried to locate the source of the voice. It was then that he located the person. Naruto stepped back in fear as he did so. Standing a few feet away from him was a boy, the same age as him, but the thing was, he looked just like him. He could be his long-lost twin, but unlike Naruto, his short, spiky hair was pure white, and his skin was completely grey, and two horns, 4 inches, stuck out of his skull. He was wearing black pants and black shirt, and nothing on his feet. He also had a knife that was resting on his waist, without a guard. It was just there, but his eyes were the thing that took Naruto back. The white of his eyes were completely black, and the pupil was completely red, with strange black markings spreading out, going down his chin and going up. He opened his mouth, revealing sharp, pearly white teeth, and his tongue was extremely long. He chuckled at Naruto's expression. "You're not gonna piss yourself, are you? Because if you do, I'm not gonna clean it up," the voice said, in a mocking tone. The voice sounded exactly like his, now that he was seeing the person. Who the hell are you?" Naruto asked. He walked forward, his hand on his blade, as he stopped beside Naruto before he turned, glancing over the dark landscape. "Relax, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not even sure that I can, to be honest. Besides, we're technically brothers." As Naruto took a breath as he calmed himself. "Who are you?" said Naruto. "Well, you see now, that's an interesting question. Because not even I am sure who exactly I am. Am I you? A stronger, more powerful you? Or am I something more powerful that has just taken on your form? It's really quite the conundrum, because I know everything you know. I feel everything you feel. Yet I also know so much more than you know, and I've experienced more than you ever experienced." What? Said Naruto, confused, as he didn't really understand. "I don't really know. Just call me you, I suppose." "Wait, so I should call you Naruto?" "No, just call me you." "So call you me?" "No, you." "Naruto?" said Naruto, confused. You looked towards him. "Are we really gonna do this?" he asked, amusement in his tone. As Naruto smiled, "It's kinda fun," he said, as he argued with himself. He found it rather funny. If he tell anyone in Konoha about this, they would surely think that he was mad. Though after his outburst last night, well, yeah, they would definitely think that he's mad. As that lowered his mood as you remember that. "Yeah," said you. "You've been having a pretty tough time, haven't you?" "Where are we?" said Naruto, changing the topic. He didn't want to talk about that. "Well, I thought that would have been obvious. We're obviously not in Konoha and you're talking to yourself." But Naruto was still confused. "We're in your mindscape, a representation of your mind and soul." "But then, why are you here? Why are we here?" Naruto asked. The smile on your face slipped away. His eyes hardened a bit. "Until 9 years ago, I didn't exist. What I was before that, I don't even know. What I do know is, I came to be alive on the same day you did. But unlike you born in the natural world, I was born in here. From what I was able to theorize, I owe my existence from your father, Minato Namikaze, on what he did the day of the Kyuubi attack. I gained form at the same time the Kyuubi was stealing to your sisters. What I was before that, I truly do not know. But from what I know, there was another being there, on the night your father sealed a Kyuubi into your sisters. To defeat the beast your father used, the Death Reaper seal, a technique that was designed by the Uzumaki clan centuries ago. It was a seal that was supposed to summon the Shinigami. If things had gone all well, your father's soul would have been taken as well, collateral for sealing away the Kyuubi. But yet, he survived, you said, with a frown on his face. This was all theories that he had, piecing theories and fractures together. Whether his theories were right or wrong, he did not know at this stage. He turned towards Naruto. "This is all just a conclusion I've come to base off my knowledge and memories. But I believe I was never supposed to be self-aware, or even exist. I think that when the Shinigami was summoned that night, something unexpected happened, something that led to me being created. I believe something was different about the seal that he used, and a piece of death power was split off at the source. But instead of the power dispersing, it simply clung to the closest source nearby, which was you. A foreign energy that became a sentient life. It is strange, isn't it, that from death comes life. So you could say that I'm a tail beast, a sentient mass of chakra, a simple piece torn from the whole. So I guess that makes you my Jinchuriki." As Naruto thought about it, He then remembered that thing that he took from the bird. Was it its soul? And he knew a lot about Fuinjutsu, knowing that one simple mistake can change a seal, and his father would be in a hurry. Wait, so you're saying that you're the Shinigami? Said Naruto as he looked him over. You're not really what I was expecting. You started to chuckle at that. Well, technically, if I'm right, then I am. Just a fragment of the Shinigami. Although, I'm a whole nother being now. Thanks to you. Besides, I'm probably more similar to you than the Shinigami. I did grow up and experience what you did. And also I have more memories on what you have. Oh yeah, I'm also more better looking. Naruto blinked. We look pretty much exactly the same. Choo, but I have badass white hair and awesome looking eyes. As Naruto looked into his eyes look like a predator haunting a prey. The white hair make you look like an old man, said Naruto. You're just jealous, said you. As the both of them looked at each other before, they burst out laughing, finding the whole thing rather hilarious. By the time they calmed down, Naruto's fear of you had completely vanished. Wait, said Naruto as you remember something. If I'm a Jinchuriki, how do I always get sick? I thought Jinchurikis don't really get sick, said Naruto. As he remembered his mother spoken about that. Because you're not sick, Naruto. Not as you think. But the doctors, Naruto, I am not normal, said you. I don't eat human food. And just the way the seal works, that sucked me into you. We are one. And you also took on some of my characteristics. Your body need a mix of human food and what the thing that you human call souls. You remember that thing that was floating above the hawk? Chakra is life energy, and when something or someone dies, it forms into a mass invisible to the human eye. A mass of energy. The doctors did not know about me. So they diagnosed you as best as they could and came to a conclusion. But that's all bullshit, of course. You just needed to unlock your chakra so you could see the souls and then you could eat them. That is why I helped you find it last time you were here. So the more souls I eat, the healthier I get? Yes, and just like in nature, your body and abilities have adapted to help you survive. You turned as Naruto turned as well. It was then that Naruto saw life, as he couldn't believe it. Over the pier side, as a hawk broke from the trees. To his shock, it was the same hawk that he had devoured. Looks familiar, said you. It should. As he smiled, your mindscape is the afterlife for the souls that you eat. Imprison them there. Their energy feeding both of us, and they keep living on. That is why it's split in half. The light is a pure world, and the dark is the impure world. That hawk is the one that you saw when you unlocked your chakra. If the hawk came here, Naruto thought to himself. Then he glanced behind him, wondering what went over this part. As he glanced towards the other side, as you turned towards him and smiled. Well, let me explain. But guys, if you end right here, if you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification as they posted. But I'm off for now, see you guys soon. Peace.